What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV live on the YouTube channel. It's 5 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for your Packers Daily Chat. A day after the Packers comeback against the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football, a game that was pretty much in doubt for a lot of the second half. I think there were some anxious moments for Packers fans, to say the least, and several of them join us here in the live chat. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, showing up, saying what's up. Now, the Packers are heading into their bye week. Mike McCarthy held his press conference earlier today. The players are out. They have been released. They are of their own free will for the next week. They'll be back in town next week. Same guy, different week for that kid. I don't know what that means. They are not going to trade. Daniel, I tend to agree. I know there already are a lot of suggestions in the chat for who they might target in a trade. I would be very surprised if Brian Gutekunst used any kind of assets to go get a player from another franchise. Daniel, you drank too much last night? I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you're not dragging too badly today. Hey, Nags, what exactly was the Dunkin' Donuts stuff? For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have seen my youngest daughter spitting fire about Dunkin' Donuts' plan to change their branding. They're no longer going to be known as Dunkin' Donuts, only going to be known as Dunkin'. My 10-year-old is very upset about it. Bryce makes me sick, says Zachary Green. That's a bit extreme, but teams are certainly targeting him deep with speed. We've seen it now with Stephon Diggs in week 2. Certainly saw it last night when the 49ers got the Packers in the exact look they wanted with Goodwin up the seam to Bryce's side. Obviously, you probably are thinking that the middle linebacker there is supposed to kind of not take the wide receiver, but help bracket the wide receiver, but both of them got caught flat-footed. Martinez is never going to be able to drop deep quick enough on that kind of play, and Bryce just wasn't heady enough to recognize that that is the major deep threat on the 49ers roster, which is derelict of duty. If you are a safety, you have got to know on each and every play where is the home run threat, because you, as the last line of defense in a cover 2 shell, have got to know that. You've got to know there's a good chance that could pop off at any moment. So teams will continue to test him that way until he shows that he can either stop it or make them pay. Until that happens, teams will continue to look for those opportunities and to scheme specifically to find those opportunities, which is what we saw last night. Hello, everyone in the chat. Brett, Matt, how are you guys? Nate, what's up? How you doing? Did I enjoy the game with Ryan Grant? We'll check it out later. Matt, I absolutely did. I've posted a couple excerpts on my Twitter feed today, 1 or 2 on YouTube, on the Facebook page. Make sure you check those all out. Ryan was fantastic. Lots of insight, not only about the game itself, about playing the game in the league, but lots of great stories from his time in Green Bay and his time outside the league. So if you get a chance, check it out. I know it's a bit cumbersome to get through sometimes with all the pausing while we're watching action, but Ryan was fantastic, and he'll definitely be back. Josh Jones would only be worse in coverage than Bryce. Now, you see, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, it's 1 or 2. It's like, oh, he'd be worse than Bryce given what he put on tape last year and or this summer, and people who are saying that he can't possibly be worse than Bryce. The thing for me is if you look at his game last year and then you look at what he did this summer in camp, he's not much different than Bryce. I know a lot gets made, sometimes by the player himself, about his draft status, the fact that he was a second-round pick. You would think, yeah, they want to get him out there. But Bryce was the starter all spring and all summer. He beat him out throughout camp. Draft status has little to do with it once you're between the white lines. And let's say they want to pull Bryce and insert Jones. Well, Jones has the same weaknesses. So I just don't see that. I understand the frustration and I understand wanting to see him out there, but I don't think what ails them is solved by inserting Josh Jones. And the Packers seem to agree because they didn't play him a single snap from scrimmage last night. Well, food for thought as he enters the bye week. Tramon Williams really showed his age yesterday. Yes and no. I think he was cognizant of some of the speed across the line from him, and he was trying to give maybe a little too much respect to that speed. You saw later in the game, especially after he got beat for that touchdown, those cushions lessened quite considerably. They were pressing a lot more late in the game. But, Tramon definitely got taken advantage of a few times. I will say all of the problems in the secondary, for me, It really come down to a lack of pass rush. And I know you still got to be able to cover on the back end, but when guys are allowed to make 3 moves on their way to the end zone, well, yeah, you're going to have a problem with that. There were some cases where they were flat out beat. There's no doubt about it. But things like Bryce getting beat on a deep ball, things like Tramon Williams getting beat for a touchdown on a double move, like those things don't happen if there's pressure in the quarterback's face. And for the most part, except for the rare instance where Pettin dialed up the pressure, that was pretty much non-existent. So I think Williams had some rough moments last night, but I think overall he played a pretty darn good game. Do you think a bye week is a net gain even with the loss of rhythm from time off? David, did you watch this team the last few weeks? If anything, it's a good thing that whatever they are calling their rhythm right now is getting broken up. This team has no rhythm. It is completely sloppy. It is undisciplined. If anything, this bye week couldn't have come soon enough. I think they are desperately in need of a reset. Mike McCarthy talks a lot about self-scout. Well, he's got a lot to do in the following week and a half or so until they start practicing again. They have so much to clean up. They have so much to change. They have so much to adjust to. I don't even know where you begin. But I can tell you this. I tweeted it out this morning. Through the first 6 weeks of this season, this team bears a striking resemblance to the 1999 squad. And that's the Ray Rhodes year, where you saw fleeting glimpses of what was once a great franchise, a great team, propped up mostly by magical moments from a generational quarterback. You saw that in '99 with Favre with a lot of the magical endings. You're seeing it this year with Rodgers and some of the incredible comeback and throws, etc. But for the most part, this is a sloppy, undisciplined team that has no business winning 8 or 9 games. And that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. That doesn't mean that they're resigned to that fate. But right now, that's what they look like. And Mike McCarthy has got to do some deep soul searching over this bye, just how he wants to attack this problem. Because right now, nothing is coming easy. There is no rhythm. They have no identity. Through 6 weeks, it's one thing to say, well, we're going to be a work in progress early on in the year. But you're not supposed to be a work in progress through a month and a half of your schedule. At some point, you've got to figure out what you do well, focus on that, and execute it at the highest level. That's what this team has traditionally done. Right now, they're not, the only thing that they can execute is the hurry up 2-minute when they're trying to make a comeback. That's it. That's their whole identity at this moment, especially on offense. And on defense, they're a team that can't play a full game to save their lives. Whole lot to work on. This bye is a blessing. I absolutely agree. Bench Bryce and move Tramon to safety. Mike, I've seen a lot of suggestions about moving Tramon to safety. I don't see that happening in the season, a position he's never even practiced at for the most part. They've spent all offseason working him at corner. He's played all year at corner. He's played his whole career at corner. To suddenly just move him to safety, it's not Madden. You can't just insert a guy. It's not going to happen. This team sucks. Yikes. Thanks, unknown person. Spriggs News, nothing yet, Zachary. Mike McCarthy was asked right at the end of his press conference, and of course he dodged the question. We'll see. I'm sure some intrepid reporter will get it out. The injury sources, most likely Rob Domofsky. At the game, some things that one can notice is body language. You can see it in Aaron Rodgers and others. Yeah. Just play 2 minutes the whole game? That's funny because I think Tom Silverstein kind of tried to go there with Mike McCarthy today. And, Mike is right when he says it's not that easy, just from a conditioning standpoint, nothing else. But you are trying to, put pressure on your opponent. I think to sprinkle it in from time to time will be a good idea. It's something they haven't done at all, other than when they're falling far behind. But for whatever reason, Mike hasn't wanted to go there. I think it would serve them well to do it, at least get to the quick passing game, hurry-up style early in the game. But for whatever reason, that's not what they want to do. Jackson to safety? Again, Daniel, he's practiced the entire season at corner. I don't see them making that kind of a drastic personnel move in the middle of the year, even though the bye week presents an opportunity to make adjustments. I'd be very surprised if they took a kid who has practiced exclusively at corner and move him to safety say, for 1 week of practice, which is basically 3 days, and then throw him out there in a game. How did the substitute lineman play? If you're talking about in the little stint there where Bulaga went down, I think Mike McCarthy put it best. He didn't have to change what they were doing play calling wise or game plan wise. They were able to use their entire offense. Lots of times in those situations, guys come in and you have to go, well, we can't do this, and if we've got to eliminate that. And they didn't have to do that. So they were able to run their offense, such as it is, which was still bumbling and stumbling all over the place. I think King played solid, says Manuel, all in caps. He was up and down. I think he got taken advantage of a little bit early, but I think he played better as the game went on. Obviously, he had the big pick there at the end, which kind of fell into his lap, but you still got to make the play, still got to be in position to do so, and he did that. I'm very interested to see the all-22. It's really hard to say one way or another without seeing all the coverages and basically what's going on in the secondary, the benefit of the eye in the sky, so to speak. But on first blush, it looked like he improved as the game went on. Do Kumaro and Davis eventually return to the 53? That's a really good question, Eric. This Kumaro thing in general, I think, is interesting because I think it was a foregone conclusion coming out of camp that they would want to. Now, I'd be absolutely shocked. They released D'Angelo Yancey from the practice squad today, which kind of suggests that, he was signed as insurance, somebody who knows the system, etc., in case Equiminius St. Brown, MVS, those guys weren't up to the challenge, weren't up to snuff from scrimmage, and I think that's been kind of put to bed these last 2 weeks. They certainly can play in the offense, and they certainly can contribute. You would think after the bye week they're going to get Geronimo Allison and Randall Cobb back, so now all of a sudden you are stocked at wide receiver. You have tons of options. So while it might be tempting to bring Kumaro or Davis back, I'd be surprised if both of them made it. Maybe even if one of them made it, just because they're kind of set at wide receiver. Now, injuries could still strike, and there's nothing says that they have to do it as soon as the 8 weeks are up. They can do it, later in the year as long as they haven't used both of their designations to return. But it will be interesting to see how that plays out, especially now that we've seen a few weeks of solid play from the rookies. Time for a trade. Well, the deadline is coming up, a couple weeks away. Again, though, as I said at the top of the chat, I'd be surprised if Gutekunst made a move, if he gave up assets to go get a player who would have to come in and, yes, probably contribute right away. But for a team that, like all intents and purposes, looking right now, it's hard for me to go all in on this team. And that's what you would be doing by trading assets for somebody who's going to help you right away. Corey says, Haha had a good game. I thought he had a solid game. It's always good when you're kind of, I want to say, like, not when you don't disappear, but like when you're rarely mentioned, and when you are, it's in glowing terms because you've caused a fumble. Causing turnovers is big. That's how you win football games, is by winning the turnover margin. And Haha has done that quite a bit this year, whether it's taking the ball away or via interception or creating fumbles like he did last night. So I think he had a solid game, no doubt. Does Valdez-Scantling keep his snap numbers once Cobb and Allison get back? Ethan, this sounds suspiciously like a fantasy football question. I'm going to say no. I think he'll still play. I think he'll still be in the mix. He'll still be in the rotation. But I think it will be a rotation, and I do think his overall numbers will go down a little bit. Could Wilkerson return? Zach, not this year. I mean, technically, yes, they could make that, after 8 weeks, they could bring him back. But from all reports, his ankle injury is going to be something that takes him well into the offseason. So he's not going to be physically ready to go this year. Liked what I saw from EQ and Scantling last night, Mike, as did I. Can Kumaro come back at some point and possibly help as a slot receiver? Daniel, we just talked about that a little bit. I don't think it'll be necessary once they get Randall back. You saw what they had Adams doing from the slot last night. They're going to have a plethora of options once these guys get healthy. So I'm not entirely sure that Kumaro coming back is the foregone conclusion it looked like it might be coming out of camp. All caps again from Manuel. How can we beat the Rams? It's going to be a tall order. It's going to be a tall order. And I know nobody circles the wagons like Mike McCarthy. He's back against the wall. People count this team out. They have come up and had great performances in spots where everyone thought they were going to get killed. That has happened numerous times in the past. I'm not saying I see it out in LA, but for me, it's about getting a lead and holding the football. Something Denver tried to do, wasn't very successful with because they don't have a quarterback, basically, or a passing game for that matter. But they're going to have to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to hold the football. You can't get into a shootout with the Rams. That's foolhardy. But I think if they can play the time of possession game, I think the Rams' defense is ripe for the picking. It's the great thing that no one's talking about. I mean, everyone's talking about how horrible the Chiefs' defense is after a few games where, this last Sunday where we saw Tom Brady and company go to town. The Rams are pretty similar. They've got a great offense. You can't take anything away from them. Obviously, a lot is made about Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh, et cetera, up front for the Rams, but they can be scored on. Look at what the Vikings did in that game. They moved the ball up and down the field all night. The Packers could do similarly if they execute and stop shooting themselves in the foot, but they could do it. The big question is can they slow them down enough on defense to come out with a W? I don't think they can on a down-by-down basis, but if they hold the football, play keep away from Goff and company, they could have a shot. Two things. Is it just me, or we physically manhandled at the point of attack on both sides of the ball all night? Also, that double reverse from Montgomery to Adams needs to be burned. Thomas couldn't agree more on that second part. But no, it was not just you. It was not your imagination, especially on defense. The Packers were whipped up front. There is no other way to put it. You really saw the absence of Wilkerson last night. The 49ers absolutely had their way with the Packers up front for much of the evening. Now, that's not down in and down out every single play all night, but no question. When push came to shove and the 49ers wanted to be physical, they could do whatever they wanted up front, especially in the run game. It was a bit embarrassing, especially for one Reggie Gilbert. Oh, the Rams game? Oh, I'm definitely drinking. Look who's here, ladies and gentlemen. Corey Banky's joining me in the studio. My partner here at Cheesehead TV. Just chilling, eating a banana, walking in my shot.
Look.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Not that bad. Everybody's all bad. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. You can always count on Corey to tell it like it is in his head.
That was an amazing game.
I'm sure you were there.
Yeah. It's not that bad.
Don't give him a free peek of Packer transplants. That's tomorrow night.
It's not that bad.
So there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. It's not that bad. Let's start with getting one positive kick punt return without a penalty. Oh, Pat. Oh my goodness, tell me about it. When was the last time they had a clean play on special teams? Any kind of return. It was interesting last night how the 49ers kept kicking it into the end zone, and Ty Montgomery kept having to down it, and you could tell he was really frustrated. He had one nice return, but yeah, too many penalties. Ron Zook's going to get that cleaned up, though. Mike McCarthy said today he's not supposed to say it frustrates him, but he admitted he is frustrated with all the penalties on special teams. Said he had a special meeting with his staff today, so we'll see what all that means. It's not that bad, Alex says. It's pretty bad. I want to be like Banky when I grow up. Mike, aim higher, dude. There were a lot of zombies walking around the stadium last night, no doubt. Ernesto asks, is Kenny Clark the best player on the Packers defense? Ernesto, 0 question. Absolutely 1,000% yes. Take that to the bank. Was Fackrell one of the top 3 players on our defense yesterday? Be honest. I don't know about power ranking the defense, but as I said in gut reactions, I got receipts. I thought he had a solid game. Can we try 33 on kickoffs, Jair on punts? I've been calling for Jair on punts all year long. Now, obviously, he's got to be healthy for that to happen. But even before the groin injury, I never understood throwing Randall or Tremont back there. Give Jair the opportunity. Feature your talent. He's an athletic freak. Let him go to town. Where is Montravius Adams? Looked good in preseason. He played, I want to say, 2 snaps last night? Maybe 4? Not a whole lot. I think Blake Martinez is on the same level as Kenny. Whew, I'm going to disagree with your police work on that one next, but that's just me. Who will go to the bench once Breeland plays? I don't know, Ethan. Stay tuned. That's a great question that only the defensive coaching staff, probably Joe Witt Jr., knows the answer to. Mike's answer to Bill about identity and being happy with it was crap. Come on, coach, admit this isn't the standard. I'm at two minds on that one there, Matt. I think it was pretty open-ended and kind of a nonsense question when Mike asked him to define it and he couldn't. I mean, it was the equivalent of a talk about question. Now that said, I think Mike did hint at the idea that it wasn't up to the standard, but I agree with you that there is an obvious answer that they don't have an identity and they don't know what, that's supposed to look like right now. And Mike could have been honest there. There's no doubt about it. But as far as the way the question was presented, I mean, I don't know. I can't blame Mike for pushing back on it. I don't care who runs back punts, just stop putting Tremont back there. That's fair, Nate. I can't disagree. When will Raji be on the watch party? Whew, that's a great question. When he is found. We are basically giving away the first half and adjusting the defense in the second half. Hi from Argentina. Whoa. Hello from New York City. Yeah, the first half defense has been troublesome pretty much all year. Not every game, but pretty much all year. It's clear that they are coming out, getting whipped, and then making the adjustments. Yesterday, they allowed, 6 points in the second half? So they're getting the job done eventually, but you can't always live in comeback mode, especially with teams like the Rams and the Patriots coming up on the schedule. That is just no way to live. All right, I'll take one or two more here, people. Do we really need to let Breland ride the pine for 3 weeks? It's not like our scheme is that difficult. Well, Nate, he is dealing with a hamstring injury. That's much more why he's been on the inactive list than any problems with the scheme. Is our team better or worse now compared to week one? David, I don't think they're any better. I think they're pretty much the same. And that's the worrying part. That's the part that kind of has to give you the heebie-jeebies as a Packers fan, unless your name is Corey Banke, and then everything is great. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. So many every time I come in here. You guys are great. Make sure you're checking all the stuff up at the YouTube channel, on Facebook, everywhere we're producing content, Instagram, etc. We're here for you, devoted to Green Bay Packers fans everywhere. Subscribe on YouTube. Like us on Facebook. We got tons of ways for you to connect. Check cheeseheadtv.com each and every day, each and every hour for all the latest on the Green Bay Packers. Packer Transplants, just me and Corey talking Packers tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you're here. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.